Finally getting ready for Maggie Stiefvater's books, and here is all of her books I'm bringing. Pretty sure that is all of her books. We will see. Sorry, it's dark in my room. Yeah, I have to drive an hour. Thankfully, I took someone's shift today so they could take my tomorrow shift because I'm seeing Anna Long tomorrow. I don't know if that's like up in St. Louis or St. Charles area. Anyway, so hour long drive. Excited for that. Goldenish team today. I don't know if you can tell with my eyelids. Oh, I still have to put chapstick on. Which reminds me, where is that? I have a gold chapstick glitter because I want to look goldish. I may stop at half price books. I don't know. I have yet to decide that actually, because like now I don't have to rush to get back home, so like it doesn't really matter where I'm at in line. So I may like do a little jaunt towards half price books, do a speed run of it, and get as fast as I can. I'm here. I made it. Oh god, there's something on my fucking eyeball and my eyes are so red because I just been staring. Try not to lose attention. Anyway, about to enter the Home Goods. Look at my hair. I did do some. Oh, I don't know if you can see it, but I did shimmer oil lotion thing. Anyway, next clip. Me and half price. Literally showing up on time. I can't make much of an update, so next clips are going to be of the place. Quick rundown, I fucking went to the wrong ass library because I didn't check to see. Apparently there's another South County fucking library. Oh my gosh, now I'm gonna be fucking, I'm walking, it's 7:07, the event starts at 7. I'm gonna walk in, there's people, look, it's gonna be great. This is so much fun! Yay! This is what I wanted to do. Show up late to the book signing. I even left. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? I even left late.
Macaron or that needs digging. We're going to talk about luxury. Luxury. Ugh. Okay, so I know you guys have already gone through an ordeal and a half to come here trying to decide if you didn't have your tickets, if you had time to eat beforehand or afterwards, had to find parking, had to put on pants, wait, probably the other way around, I hope, the other way around. So I think before we get into tonight's spiel, we have time for a very tiny game of play pretend. What I would like for us all to do is I would like us to do that number where you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and then when I count to 10. And what I would love for you guys to do is imagine what it would take to make this event more luxurious. Now, I know that what's going to happen is that immediately you guys are going to go to that ball gown place. It's going to be like fancy dresses and waiters with hors d'oeuvres and live music and like endangered animals on platters and rose petals. What else? Beauty and the Beast shit. Like, no, okay, no, not that. Not that. I want you to imagine what would make it more luxurious, and I want you to just keep it in your mind. Yes? Okay. We're gonna do it. Breathe in through the nose. Out of the nose. Close your eyes. And count to 10. Good enough. Okay, so keep it in your mind. Luxury. Luxury. Okay. Yeah. when I started this, no, I'm not going to go down that road. Yeah, I have a problem with luxury, is what I'm trying to say here. I'm not going to rant yet. I'm not going to rant yet. What I'm going to do is first put a pin in it. Okay, hello, I'm Maggie Stiefvater. I'm your author for tonight. Dinner and a show. Talking to signing. It's going to be fine. What do I want to do? Oh wait, what I want to know is how many of you here have read any of my novels? How many of you are my Scorpio racist people? How about my sugar people? My Raven cycle human? Where are my Stiefvater omnivores who will read anything? And of course, where are my people who have no idea who I am and have never read anything I've written? Let's hear it for the best friends and subscribers. You guys are about to find out so much about me. I am sorry. Okay. If you've read the back of the book, you already know what it's about. It's about a luxury hotel in the middle of nowhere that is tapped to take on hundreds of Axis diplomats just after the start of World War II for the U.S. It's based on a true story. The State Department really did tap half a dozen rural, you should walk carefully onto the word. Rural has an obscene number of R's in it. Hotels in the boonies. The State Department really did tap rural, doesn't sound right, luxury resorts to house Axis diplomats just after Pearl Harbor. And these were not just any hotels that they tapped. They tapped hotels like the Greenbrier, the Bedford Springs Spa, the Hershey Hotel, Grove Park Inn, and if you have not heard of these hotels before, I am here to tell you that they are fancy hotels. They are not just fancy hotels, they're additionally schmancy hotels. They are fancy schmancy hotels. They are hotels where the staff outnumbers you by an absurd amount. If these hotels were a John Wick film and the staff were the enemy, the scene in the lobby would take a very long time, is all I'm saying. Right, very fancy. These are where presidents stayed. They are not just luxury hotels. They were like the hotels that taught luxury hotels how to be luxury hotels. And I don't know, guys. I mean, you're probably asking first, why isn't the State Department tapped fancy schmancy hotels to house the enemy? Good question. Thank you for thinking of it and me intercepting it in my psychic ways. They were doing something, it was called diplomatic reciprocity, which I'm a liberal arts major, so we're going to do algebra like a liberal arts major. I was also a high school dropout, so we're going to do algebra like a high school dropout. You know how when you have a algebraic equation and you have to do the same thing to both sides of it? You know, if you add x here, you have to add x on the other side. We've now exhausted my algebra, by the way, that's it. Okay, this diplomatic reciprocity meant that if you had German diplomats that were trapped in the US and you put them in a fancy hotel and you fed them caviar, on this side of the equation, if you had American diplomats trapped in Germany, then they were supposed to not starve them to death. That was the goal, was to create a precedent, to have the high ground, a precedent of luxury. Okay, I have a problem with luxury. When I first started writing this book, I thought that luxury was, well, I went to that ball gown place, right? Just thought it was stuff. And like any good red-blooded member of the upper middle class, I was anti-stuff. Stuff I thought was the thing that the ruling class did. This is what they did with their unlimited resources. They bought stuff, they lived just stuff, and then the upwardly mobile looked at them and bought stuff, created this Ouroboros of culture where it was endangered animals being shipped by Amazon Prime. I've gotten better. This is a whole character arc. This is where I started from. Anyway, the point is that when I began this, I really thought that I had my thesis securely in place, and it was going to be that I would be debunking luxury. Let us again put a pin in it. What we're going to do is we're going to go back in time 3 times and maybe circle around the concept of luxury. We're going to go back in time the first time, way back to when this first began. December 7th, 1941. Just kidding, we're just gonna go back to when I started writing this book. It was 4 years ago. Right, so back then, I was in the middle of writing the Dreamer trilogy, and I knew two things about my next book. Number one, it was going to be an adult book, and number two, it was going to be a hotel book. And I knew number one because all around my house, sitting on their faces, all of the novels that I was reading, turned to page 16 were actually, hold on, do you guys know about, no, wait. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question again. How many of you guys finish every single novel that you start reading? You're in it to win it. Oh my gosh, are you happy people? No, I free you. How many of you are quitters? How many of you are intense quitters? Like you get to it and you break up with a novel so hard that even if you're, say, for instance, on a transatlantic flight and land is far away, you can't even stand to have it in the pocket in front of you, you say, excuse me, attendant, will you take this trash? Put it in a different class. Thank you. By the way, you could give me $1 million and I will not tell you what book that was. Maybe. No. Right, okay, I'm a quitter. I am not just a quitter. I am a quitter, especially on page 16. Page 16 is a magical time where you've had enough time to walk into the novel, you know what it's going to sound like, you're beginning to get a sense of what the storytelling priorities are. You usually have like a nice break in between sections so you know how much time is going to go by. Yeah, so that's why I quit. Yeah, I'm a big quitter. But the thing is, I don't always quit right away when I first reach 16. Sometimes it takes, those books we have to go and like take a run at it a couple times? Yeah, so they just sit there on their faces on page 16 all over my house, waiting for judgment. After 16, it's a really good bet that if I stick with you, if I like it at 16, I'm in it to win it. But I did actually, a couple of years ago, how many of you guys do New Year's resolutions? Oh my God. I'm a goal-based entity. Like you could take away my skin and just goals stacked on top of goals. I made a goal for myself that I was going to get to page 50 on every single novel. And I did. I read to page 50 of every single one and I was never wrong. Page 16 is the magic number. Okay, so all of the books, the reason why I knew one, it was going to be an adult novel is because all of the books that were laying around their face now had slowly morphed over the years to be adult fiction, and not just any adult fiction, but adult general fiction. And so I could feel that my reading tastes had changed, so I also could tell that my writing tastes were changing. And I knew number two, that it was going to be a hotel book because of a hotel called The Gore. It's not a very sexy name for a hotel. Maybe it should have been at the Scorpio races, but I mean, or that John Wick movie, actually. Nope, okay. Stay with that. Right, so the Gore, you should know that by the time I stayed in the Gore, I had already been in so many hotels. At one point I had been touring one day out of every 3, which is a lot of hotels. And let's just insert a montage here of just endless weird carpet and long hallways with identical doors and thousands of clerks looking at you with a kind of judgmental way saying, do you want 1 key or 2? A question which I have still not figured out how I'm supposed to answer. Like, there's clearly one of me here. So I think the answer is 1, but are you saying if I say 1, I can't make friends, and so I should have 2 in case I meet someone while I'm not doing my book event? Like, should it be 2? No, now you're looking at me like, I'm maybe a little too promiscuous, so I'll take 1 then. 1's fine, I'll come back for the second one. Anyway, and then also just finish this montage with a big boss battle with the ultimate villain, which is the hotel room HVAC system. It's a tragedy. It always wins. So, okay, I've been in so many hotels, but the Gore was different because the Gore, I remembered. It's showing me photos. I'm going to remember this moment as well. Pause. I know an author that during a high school visit had it going through her photos for her slideshow. You guys don't even know what I'm going to say. And I'm just going to say it involved a bathtub, a rose with no thorns, and nothing else. Oh yeah, and a room full of high school boys. So, okay, she doesn't do school visits anymore. The gore. Okay, the gore was memorable because, first of all, it already looked different on the outside. It's in Kensington, in London. Looks like a shoebox tree. I read the memos. They could make dynamite really boring, really boring. There's just lists of names over and over again, and then letters back that say, thank you for the list of names. I mean, it's just, was it meditative to type? What is happening? Yeah, so I was motivated by spite to keep an FBI agent. He's like, please, list the State Department agent. They were a little fun. And the second time I can remember being motivated by spite within recent memory is some of you guys might know that as the countdown to the listeners, I've been drawing dachshund every single day. I was a portrait artist before I was an author, and so I was drawing a dachshund into old master paintings. There's so many of them, guys. There's 92 of them on the internet right now. I capped myself at 2 hours a day and go. And I have to say that like 3 weeks into that, I thought, do I really want to do this? I mean, is anyone going to notice if I keep on doing it? And then a single comment appeared on Facebook, and this comment was from a man who I have not heard from in 25 years. This man, when I was a competition bagpiper, that's enough, was also in the pipe band. 25 years ago, this man got drunk the weekend before a competition. In our quartet competition, there's only 4 of us, Tom. You're 25% of this. Who was the number 2 female piper in the state? Me. Who was a loser? Tom. Tom posted on Facebook, not heard from this man in 25 years. How long do you really think you can keep this up, Maggie? Forever. Yeah, so 2 spite. They say Scorpios are a very spiteful sign. I know, just the 2. Yeah, the fence and the dachshund. That's it. Seriously, those of you who are musicians, practice. Like, I hate you if you don't. Like, seriously, why are you having a life? Get out there. 4 hours a day. Okay, so, muscle memory. Or draw in the air. I mean, all valid ways to spend your time. So, I had to know what June was thinking, right? I had to know what she gets full of worser and worser things, but you can still, if you have some agency, elbow out some wonder in the world. So I really like it as a genre. So yeah, Will Patton should be here. Okay, what's another luxurious thing? Yes. She said, if we heard the Evo, whatever you pulled up. I don't know if my neighbor would agree with you. I understand this concept. Next. Yes. I agree. I like yours. One of the best vacations we ever went on is we did that Trans-Canada train that goes all the way across. The best part of it was that, again, that sense of there's huge swaths where there was no signal, you couldn't get off. It was really the moment of being transient was the vacation. Worst part was that they had hired a band to play for the entire month, and they played, it was a husband and a wife, and they played in the cabooses multiple times during the day, and all the week long, my kids kept on saying, you need to read their tarot cards. And I was like, I do not think that that is a good idea. I should not do that. I don't want to know anything about them. They're like, do it, do it. So I finally, on the second to last day, did it for them separately. That was a requirement. And her was all, no, his first was, you have lost all of your love for music. You are being dragged down. You are oppressed by a cloud who is taking away all of your self-worth. And then her cards were all like, you have a useless sack of shit that is stuck in the stream with you. You would be a god without him. And she was like, that was the best reading I've ever. It gets worse. Thing one had drawn a pencil drawing of them, and they took a picture. They said, "That's amazing. Can we use it for our next album?" Because it was charming. It was childlike. I got email from them later. First from him, he was like, "Fantastic. I'm living with my mom." And I got an email from her that was like 4 months later, and she's like, "I'm recording an album, and I am on fire. Look at my album." And the cover was the drawing with him. Luxury. Okay, we do one last. Let's do one last one. Then let's do like 3 questions, 3 regular questions. The first one, last luxury. You got a luxury? Yes.
See, I was thinking a little bit more literally as I'm sitting here in this uncomfortable chair.
Yeah, you guys went very ephemeral.
Yeah, totally. And I went really about just total comfort. And so I wanted to be in a very luxurious recliner with a margarita and a cool breeze blowing my hair.
For the people in the back, it's a recliner, cool breeze, margarita, hair looks fabulous. Right. At the last event, there were lots of votes for recliners. They went very concrete. 2 people said they wanted their beds. There's a lot of votes for there being dogs and cats running around, but my favorite was someone who went and said, "I'd like this to be a 10-person event." I said, "So you want to erase 190 other people?" And she's like, "You said anything." Yeah, okay, let's do quickly. So there's a certain responsibility that you have to your readers to have a consistent frame. If I'm going to use my same name, I want you guys to generally think that a Maggie Stiefvater novel is going to have the same storytelling priorities. It's the way of looking at the world. My thesis is about humans. And so to go too far away from that feels like you need to go to a pen name. You can still play in those fields, but even if readers find out that it's you, if you go and use a pen name, it's your way of saying, okay, but the experience is going to be different. So on the one hand, there's that. But on the other side, I thought, when I went from YA to adult, I knew I was doing something that not a lot of other YA authors had done. I mean, maybe not, and maybe Gabrielle Zevin. Most of the time, when young adult authors age up, they age up into the genres, into category fiction, because the DNA of YA is much closer to romance or fantasy or mystery or thriller, because all of those genres tend to be more immediate. They have a lot of shared DNA, even with visual media. It's the reason why they adapt so easily, because you sit on a character's shoulders and you zoom through time with them, and you account for, if not every single minute, you're still moving in a very, you're right there with them. And in adult general fiction, that is not the rule of the category at all. When someone picks up a book and it does that, if it's shelved as adult fiction, just on the general shelf, you'll see the reviews and they say, this felt like it was a fantasy, or this felt like it was a YA. And what they're saying is that kind of storytelling pacing and those priorities are different. So I had to spend all of this time researching and deciding if that was actually where I wanted to go, and also what it looked like for me to be in this space to still keep the name Maggie Stiefvater, but doing adult general fiction. Spent a year reading the top 100, some of the best-selling fiction novels over the last 100 years, and I removed all the ones that became big sellers after they had a media adaptation or because they had hit a cultural moment. And then I just looked to see, what do they have in common? What are the tells that make me think, oh, this goes on this part of the shelf, this goes on this part of the shelf? And what was really cool about it is that it was kind of like that central tenet of luxury, where the top sellers, even if they did go all over the categories, they all had one thing in common, and it's best exemplified by a Stephen King novel, which I did not like. It was The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, a book which is not good, Stephen, not good. Right. Woman gets lost in the woods and begins talking to like a sports hero in her mind to keep herself from being eaten by monsters. It's something. And I was looking at this and thinking, oh, this doesn't even feel like a King book. This is so stupid. Why am I here? Then I looked down and I was on page 200. What happened to page 16? That's why Stephen King is to be Stephen King, because I could complain about the content, but what all of those top sellers had in common was they were impeccably organized. They were doing the work for you so that you could instead bring your emotional work to them. And so the more invisible that became, the more sophisticated your thoughts could be about the content. So that was that's like a short version of what I was thinking about. but I could do it for hours. And asked, can I show you my tattoo? And I said, is it someplace that you are allowed to show in public? And she said, yes. And she lifted up her shirt to here, and I can see that on her ribcage, life-size, is a man's face. Just a man with piercing green eyes. And I'm looking into them, and they are, I'm at a table, she's there, so it's looking at me. And then she goes, isn't it wonderful? And I look down to the Gothic font that says Cole St. Clair. I have talked a lot about how I don't know if this is a tattoo book. Like, I don't know. The thing is, people ask me who my favorite character is in the Raven Cycle, and I can't answer because the answer is that I love the shapes between characters. And for me, it's impossible to take out a single one and feel the same way. And so I feel even more that the listeners has become this maximalist web of people and themes put together. And so I don't know. Every single time Tucker appears on the page, my editor did write, gave me my edits handwritten, which by the way is extremely nerve-wracking. She's like, they're coming FedEx. I'm like, have you not seen the videos? Once an entire box of my pre-ordered books was in a UPS truck that turned over on the highway, spilling copies of Blue Lily everywhere. Some of you might have been the ones that were delayed for this. Yes, that was, okay. FedEx! And he said, every single time Tucker walks in, he's just like, hello, she's like, hot. Okay, I'm gonna say that I did have a problem with one of the characters in this book, and you guys can tell me if I succeeded or not. There are two, well, there's lots of, it's a lot of scenes with federal agents, there's so many federal agents, but there is Tucker, the FBI agent, and then there's Pennybacker, the bumbling State Department agent. And I had a huge problem in my first draft because I was trying my best to make it seem like June and Pennybacker were not going to be an item. And I couldn't figure out what was happening. He would just walk in, he's kind of bumbling. The New York Times review that came out today said that there was a Stiefvaterism, that they thought the language was too coy because it says that Pennybacker's bow tie, he was disgruntled, and so his bow tie became gruntled. And they said, you can't do that. And I was like, I can't. Thank you. It was just like Pennybacker's is like messy and enthusiastic, and he just arrives and he explains the plan of what the detention is going to look like, and I was like, why are there instant sparks here? It's like, well, okay, let's make him older, and then like, oh no, now it looks like June is into the older gent. And I'm like, okay, let's make it so he's always messy. And then it's like, June has hidden depths because she likes a man who's, can't keep things. And I was like, we're gonna make it so the other FBI agents won't let him sit at the table. And then it's like, he's the underdog. Like, here, Tucker, hot. It's just like, don't sit with us, man. You're like, oh, I know how this rom-com goes, right? Like, fuck off. And then I'm like, he's gonna be bald, he's gonna be sweaty. The dogs won't let him pet them. Everything I did was just reinforcing that June and Pennybacker were somehow endgame. I gave Pennybacker a wife. I was like, I think this marriage is on the rocks. Stop it! Stop it! And what I actually found out was wrong was that in the very first meeting where Tucker walks in and June sees him, and Andrea wrote hot for the first time, it was too hot. Like June looked at him and was like, who says the feds are boring, says June. And then in comes bumbling Pennybacker. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was beautiful without my glasses. And we all understand, right, that means that she's gonna have this fling with a hot guy who is mean and the dogs like, and then she's gonna go run away with Pennybacker. And so all I did was make him less hot. And all of a sudden, Pennybacker became just Pennybacker. And I do love him. I feel like he's a very Stiefvater character. You'll read him go. Your question was, is it going to be that sense of wonder with them? The characters, I think, are still definitely very Stiefvater shaped. But Pennybacker doesn't stand a chance.
But you also allow yourself, to rest.
Do you want an inspiring answer or a true one?
Can you meet me in the middle?
Okay, we're gonna start with an anecdote. When I was but a young thing and Lover and I were engaged, my parents had their family friend, the priest, over, Father Duffy. Gloriously inappropriate, by the way. At one point at our wedding rehearsal dinner, he was with our wedding photographer going, Anyway, so Father Duffy was there, and he came toddling over to me. The man always smelled like vestment. If any of you are Catholics, you understand vestment smell. He was in, like, what you call it, a priest, or he was plain clothes. Anyway, so he comes over, and he's like, I have some advice for you before you get married. I'm like, sure, Father Duffy. You who have never known the touch of a woman, lay it on me. And he says, okay, here's the thing. You are very fast. Through your life, you're going to meet so many people, and you're going to be so frustrated, and you're going to say, God, why are they taking so long? Why are they so slow? You are going to look at poor Edward in the other room, and you're going to say, hey, why are you so slow? It's not his problem. It's your problem, because you're fast. This has been the best advice that I have ever had in my life, because it's not that I'm fast. Okay, I'm fast. It's that I'm the bucket. And the bucket doesn't watch TV because it doesn't matter. The bucket doesn't do a lot of the time-consuming things, and you guys have more time than you think. This made me angry once because Lover told me this right after the kids were 11 months apart, so they were like 3 or 4, and I said, I do not have time to be doing full-time portrait artistry stuff, like traveling all over from my booth at 60 hours in a week, and then these children are being children, and they keep on locking me out and laughing on the other side of the class. And I don't have any time. And he said, you just had time to tell me that. And I was like, ha ha. He goes, no. The time in between, like the time in between. Are you losing the time in between? And it's sort of like when you are looking at fixing your budget, and sometimes your budget is awful because just your expenses are way too high, but sometimes it's because you're thinking, oh, well, it's just $20 here, or it's just $15 here, or I haven't done anything big in a long time, so it's just like, we're going to get coffee, and it adds up, and time is the exact same way. So if you just think about, okay, but if I have a minute here and a minute here, like how, I have not watched a full TikTok video that Penguin Teen hasn't sent me of my own face, I think ever. Visual media has always been very frustrating to me as a bucket because it's very time consuming. And so I do what I love and only what I love. And if I find myself doing the things that I don't love, it means that there's something wrong. I'm stressed or anxious. I need to change something else because otherwise I wouldn't get sucked into it. So that's a big part of it. And then the other part of it, I have obsessive compulsive disorder. That's not a joke. I really do. And so I work really hard until I remember to stop. And then the other thing is just, I do things because I'm curious about the outcome, no matter what they are. So for instance, I joke that it was because of Tom Gillespie not practicing his pipes 25 years ago that I did those dachshunds. But the truth is that it was very meditative, and I was learning something about it, and at the end of it, I mean, I've been doing art for a billion years, and at the end of 92 days of dachshunds, I went to go and draw a dachshund on a final one, and it took me 2 seconds because in 92 days, I'd gotten better at art because I had spent all that time looking at it, because it was for me. So I don't know if that is inspirational or truthful or somewhere in between, but the answer is just do housekeeping with your own habits and be brutally honest. Don't let anyone else be brutally honest, because if I want to go out and dig a hole, guess what? I will never be famous for digging holes. So if someone else is looking at my day and saying, well, you probably spend less time digging that hole in the backyard that you actually don't even have anything to put in yet. It's actually more of a trench right now. I hit clay. It's gonna take me a minute. But I did my housekeeping, so I know that that is valuable time for me. Does that help? Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, it's me again. Okay, this time I'll try not to say like as often as I can. But I'm starving. I'm gonna stop by in Jack in the Box because they brought back their chicken tater melt. They keep bringing that bitch back. It's like, just keep it on your fucking menu. Anyway, my back fucking hurts. Because I stood the whole entire event. Because I ended up getting there at 7:05. Thankfully, she wasn't out there yet. So I arrived in the nick of time. Obviously, I had 17 books. I didn't know I had 17 books until I counted it. I went up to the lady and asked her, hey, I still need the paper slips for the, to put my name on, to put them in the books. And she asked how many did I have. Sorry, I'm trying to like self-censor myself from saying like, that's so fucking crazy. And I said, 17? She said, 17? Yeah, 17. And so the lady said that she would go to Maggie to double check with her. And thankfully, Maggie was A-okay with it. And me and this one girl, I don't know if she's ever going to see this video. It was nice chatting with you. We had like a shit ton of books. So they literally put the books on a table. You literally just saw the clip of my books. And we wheeled the table over to where she was at. Because me and that girl were the last ones in line. And I didn't get to ask the question I was wanting to ask, which was, if you had to co-write with someone, who would you co-write with? I forgot what I said. But I did say at the end, because Maggie said, thanks for bringing all 17 books. And I said, you're welcome. Whenever an event says an author will sign any book, I'm always taking advantage of that. Bring my whole entire collection. Oh, I remember. She had asked me what am I reading when it's not the 17 books. And I said, well, when I'm ignoring my 500 physical TBR. And Maggie said, wait, actually 500? And I replied, yeah, give me 1 second. And I pulled up my phone. And so she said, wait, you have it? And I said, yes, I do. Sorry, I feel like there is a freaking stupid zip coming. Anyway. And so she said, well, you have it? And I said, yeah, give me a second. I have all my books on an app, cataloged. And so I pull it up and I'm like, all right, so I have 1,605, but I didn't say that part. I said, I have 1,600. And then I pulled up my unread. And so I said, my unread is 560 something. And the employees, since I'm like last in line, it's just basically the employees and Maggie and homegirl. And the employees were nodding their head saying, yep, actually 500. So yeah. I have a problem. Oh, and she told me, because she was talking about her, 16-page rule. And she said, sounds like a New Year's goal to, get through my TBR. And I said, well, I attempted that last year to read up to 5 chapters, but I didn't do it. And she says, 5 chapters, that's too much. Do 16 pages. I love her. So weird saying that. She's probably going to be, she's hilarious. Her thought process feels similar to mine, because whenever she was talking about things, she would stop herself and go onto a different track and then go onto another track and then revert back. It's giving, honestly, classic like Midwest speaking, because I feel that most Midwest people sort of have that type of thought process. Anyway, I gotta go. I'm going to a 24-hour Jack in the Box to get me some food. Anyway, I got